Lagos is a Yoruba land.
I am very sure you must have heard this. Lagos is no man's land. Lagos is the only part of Nigeria where you will hear such. And this prompted actions after the elections from Yorubas in Lagos State. It is clear, it is known that Yoruba people are the ones in the southwest of Nigeria, and Lagos is part of the southwest of Nigeria. Now, being that Yoruba people are loving, welcoming, they embrace foreigners due to their own, culture and tradition. This has created this narrative of Lagos is no man's land. After the elections, a lot of people started looking deeper when a man called Gbadebo Roosevelt came up and he started saying things such as, I don't think Yoruba, Lagos is a cosmopolitan state, we shouldn't have Yoruba people saying this and that, let everybody. And this kind of jolted Yoruba speakers, Yoruba people, indigenous. They are like, what? So because we allow this in our own part of Nigeria, can you go to the north? Can you go to the southeast of Nigeria? Can you go to the middle belt to repeat the same? No, enough is enough. And this prompted Mr. Obasa. Mr. Obasa, yes, Lagos Speaker Mudashiru Ajayi Obasa, and some other people also. In fact, Lagos State Governor Babajide Sanwolu, the President of Nigeria Bola Ahmed Tinubu, and some other key players, they are all involved in this one way or the other, either directly or indirectly. According to the speaker, he said, we are putting plans on the way to make sure that whatever it is that undermines our indigenousness will be dealt with, such as land, property ownership by non-indigenous, especially Igbos in the state. He has declared it, and this slogan is what they are standing on. Reverse all the reversible. Without further ado, let us listen to Mr. Obasa speak about this, and we will talk about the next step. What is the total effect of this move? What is it all about?
Lagos is a Yoruba land, as against assertion of some people that it is no more land. Therefore, part of our legislative agenda is to ensure that the translation of laws passed by this House to Yoruba language. We also aim at achieving our collective goals of creating a robust legislative framework that protects the interests of our people. Going forward in this way, we are going to employ all legislative instruments to support for the support of the indigenes of Lagos State.
Did Mudashiru Obasa consider it necessary to reopen that matter?
This is the point.
He had been chosen by his colleagues for a third term as speaker. He should just thank them and talk like, somebody is interested in the national interest, in public interest, not to talk as a provincial person, dredging up antediluvian sentiments. Lagos belongs to Yorubas. Lagos is a no man's land. I thought that argument was part of the politics. He should not use the platform of the House of Assembly to play politics. That's not leadership. And this is what we say to public officials all the time. If you don't have something to say, something that will appeal to reasonable, right-thinking members of society, can you just shut up? Because you can't on your own just sit in the House of Assembly and say, we are removing your property rights. Section 42 says you cannot be discriminated against in this country on the basis of your ethnicity, religion, or anything. The law frowns at discrimination. The threat to reverse whatever is irreversible because you are not a Yoruba person or you are not from Lagos, that is discriminatory. Land Use Act, which vests, section 1 of which vests ownership of land in the governor as a trustee, did not say if the governor of Lagos State is going to give out land, he should do so only to people of Lagos State or to only Yorubas. That section 1 is very clear. It says on Nigerians in any part of Nigeria. So I'm surprised because I understand Mr. Obasa, he's a lawyer, so maybe he's just playing to the gallery, but this kind of thing can cause conflict, can cause disorder.
Absolutely.
And all those provisions that we have read out, they are enforceable
For ending on the notes of where I'm from, because I'm proudly from Lagos State, from Lagos Island.
You're the true Lagosian. You're not like some people.
You mean you are an indigene?
You are an indigene. Tell them.
But
some
then
people are
let's
not.
begin to define an indigene, because when we look at Lagos State, it's such a cosmopolitan city, and we've had people who've settled. In fact, some people would still challenge my indigenous, my being an indigene, saying that if you trace back to centuries ago, we came from Sierra Leone and then we settled. So at the end of the day, I understand when people are a bit, they take offense with Lagos is no man's land, but then aside from the legal aspect, which Dr. Bati has just dealt excellently with, as always, is the fact that how do you begin to define who is an indigene? How do you begin to, is it for how many years? How do you begin to separate people? Maybe, my mom is from Edo State. So would you say that I'm half an indigene, so I don't have as much access? Then is it just for Lagosians or for people from the western part of Nigeria? Because if you look in the house, you would see that it's spread across different people who've come into Lagos to settle. One of the things about Lagos State as a center of excellence is the fact that people from around the world can come here and thrive and excel, and they contribute to the prosperity of Lagos State. Yes, Lagos is a no man's land, but the excellence and who built Lagos is not just indigenes. The people who've come around from around different parts of Nigeria have come in and they've invested in Lagos State to make it what it is. We must be truthful about that.
All right.
Now, the question on the minds of Lagosians, indigenous to Lagos, Yoruba people, is this: should we now sacrifice our cohesion, our togetherness, our one Nigeria at the altar or at the expense of our own space, our own indigenousness? It's very important that these things are looked into, because it is easy for people to say this. I'm not talking about people not being embracing enough, loving enough, accepting enough. Yoruba people have been to that point. But when it comes to a point where fingers are being pointed at your nose and your eyes, you want to rise up to speak and say, look, we are not going to change history and write it whatever way, wherever way people want it. But then that should not brew violence. And also, people should also be considerate. Yes, very considerate. If we are talking about national cohesion and all of that, can we look at other parts of Nigeria if this is applicable or not?
Rufai, I know you've made some comments on this, just really quickly so we can move on.
I want to tell a story.
Okay.
And with this story, I'd like to pay tribute to Chief Shubomi Balogun. That is, I think he's been buried around this weekend. In the thick of the Civil War, a certain young Igbo architect who happens to be the first PhD holder in architecture in Nigeria had a home close to Shubomi Balogun's home. And when the war started, the Igbos had to go back. And Shubomi Balogun saw that squatters were coming into the home of this architect. And he chased away the squatters and he renovated the home. And he put somebody in there and he was collecting rent from her and keeping it for the person. He could have taken over the property because, as at that point in time, there was a war. And the Igbos were being denigrated. But he kept the home. After the war, this architect, PhD holder in architecture, came back and he met Shubomi Balogun and he said, oh, that's your house. I kept the house for you. And while he was going, he said, please, wait. Then he went in and brought wads of money out and said, this was the rent I got. And he said, thank you. That architect later became the vice president of this country, Chief Alex Ekweme. And that good turn deserves another. When it was time for Chief Shubomi Balogun to also get his own banking license, that same man was instrumental in getting his banking license.
Self-preservation. This simply means that some group or groups of people want to retain certain tradition, culture, or retain a physical part, either land, space, location. It happens everywhere. When I talk about self-preservation, I believe that is what the Yorubas in Lagos State are talking about. Because if you are not careful, narratives will keep coming and it becomes history. Now, that certain groups of people are saying, no, Lagos is no man's land. We join hands together. This is coming to an end with rules, policies, even though people are screaming and shouting, saying, no, it is not possible. This is what it is. Meaning, if you buy a piece of land, do not think you have C of O. Or maybe they might give you something, but there will be a difference between a Yoruba man indigenous to Lagos and you, a foreigner, coming in there, not indigenous to that state, buying a piece of land or property or whatever it is. This is to cut off or erase this narrative of Lagos is no man's land. If steps are not taken, just like the first example I give to you, and you'll find these examples all over Europe, everywhere. In fact, let us even look at Nigeria. Let us not go far. Where is it in the whole of Nigeria that foreigners can come in and say, this place is no man's land? Can you do that in Anambra State? Is it possible in Imo State, Enugu State, Abia State? Is it possible? Can you go to Kano? Yes, Kano is also a cosmopolitan. You'll find different groups of people, tribes. Can you go to Kano and say Kano is no man's land? Is it possible? Is it possible? It is not possible at all. Let us tell ourselves the truth, no matter, regardless of what anyone wants to say, like we all built it together. Do you know the people who built Europe and America? Yes, the same people that are talking about no man's land. Different people all over Africa, different races, except their own race, built these countries, built this continent, Europe and America. They built it. Having done all of that, which day did they say this place is no man's land? We are the owner of it. Those people there who brought you to build it will not accept, they will not allow, they will definitely create rules, policies that will make sure that you cannot override them. Now, Lagos and Lagosians are like, no, enough is enough. And like I told you, the election kind of jolted some people. They woke up and they are like, no, if we sit down, people like Gbadebo Rosevival, who is half Yoruba from Lagos and also half Igbo from Anambra State, will tell you, I do not think Lagos is a cosmopolitan. You want to be governor of Lagos State, of a state that is indigenous to Yoruba people, and because of your affiliation by blood from the southeast of Nigeria, you say Lagos is a cosmopolitan. There are a lot of people that join hands together to build it and that. So because of that, the indigenousness of that place, the indigenous people should shut their mouth because other people came in. Does it work that way? It doesn't make sense. That is the reason, apart from politics, that made him lose. People are like, come on. There are a lot of people who would have kind of moved with the wave of Labour Party, Peter Obi and all of that, because people were angry. Immediately he opened his mouth to say this. That thing, indigenous to those who are Yorubas in Lagos, woke up and they're like, no, do not accept, do not allow. Whatever it is, we will vote for Sanwolu. It doesn't matter if Sanwolu is from any other part of Yoruba land, like what they will say, like, oh, are you really from Lagos State? Didn't your ancestors come to Lagos State 400, 500, 700 years ago? And all of those talks, you know, even though these things do exist, they will not in any way support someone who has that connection outside of Yoruba land. I don't know what your thoughts are as regards, because we need to call a spade a spade. Yes, we need to call a spade a spade. We need to be realistic. Once you have foreigners, strangers, for those who live in diaspora, who might be living overseas or somewhere, no matter what you do or whatever you put or you've imputed in wherever you are, is there a time that they allow you to override and say, no, this country is no man's land? Is it possible? So if it is not possible where you are, how then in your own country you move from your own state to someone else's state? You've done a lot, you've invested, yes, you've added value, but bear it in mind that that place belongs to those people. You have simply come there because something attracted you to Lagos. Anyone could have gone anywhere. Yes, you could have gone to Kano, Anambra State, go and add value to those places. You could have gone to your own state to add value, but something drew you down to Lagos State. That thing does not matter what you have done or what you have gained or whatever it is. There are people who are indigenous to that part. That respect, if put in there, will solve a lot of this issue once and for all. That is the truth. Let us speak the truth. Let's be realistic. Is there a chance that the one Nigeria that a lot of people talk about, is there a possibility that a Yoruba man like Babajide Sanwolu will go to Anambra State or go to Kaduna State or go to Ebonyi State or go to Cross River, go to Calabar, go wherever and contest to be governor and he will get it? Is it possible? Have you seen any governor of any of the states in Nigeria that does not speak the language of the people? It's not possible. Let us be truthful. Nigeria is not one. We are all divided, tribe, religion, ethnicity, etc. Let us tell ourselves the truth and not try to fool ourselves. What are your thoughts as regards this? Drop your comment, like and share, subscribe to this channel.